Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so very much. I'm so glad that you're here. Today we're going to have fun because we're going to learn how to color realistic water drops on flowers and leaves using colored pencils. So join me on the other side and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. I actually had a very different video planned for this week, but earlier this week I made a post under the community section on my channel asking what you guys thought about learning how to color realistic water drops. And the response I got was so great. I thought, okay, we're gonna have to do this video this week, and I'll put off the video I had planned for the next time. So here we go. This is your video. I hope you all enjoy it. So what I did, I've wanted to learn how to do this forever, and I went out and watched a ton of videos, and I finally figured it out in a way that makes sense to me. And so I wanted to come on here on my channel and try to break it down in a very easy to understand way for you guys. So you can see here, I've got water droplets in different shapes, some that are dripping. And it's really using colors. It's pulling colors from the background I'm coloring the drop on. So you can see this has pinks, this has greens. And it's just really a trick. It's kind of an illusion that makes it look like a water drop. So what I'm going to do is break this down for you first using only gray pencils. So let me get my supplies and I will be right back. Why only gray pencils? The reason I want to first demonstrate this with gray pencils is because I want to take color out of the picture and just show you the process. I think if you watch the process with color, it's a lot at one time. So what I want to do is show you the process, what we're going to do, and then after we do this, I will show you some in color. But first let's do this, and what I'm going to do is make these bigger so you can see what we're going to do, because if you look at the actual water droplets on the page that I just showed you, they're very small. So I'm going to do this bigger here, and let me start out with this square here. So here I've just got a generic gray background that was done with 50% gray, cool gray that is, out of the Prismacolor set. So what I'm going to do is take a slightly darker gray, I'm not going to go black, pencil, and I'm going to gently draw a circle. So that's going to be our raindrop. So that's easy, right? Everybody can draw a circle, and they don't have to be perfect. You know what? Raindrops and water drops are not perfectly round, right? So don't worry if yours looks blobby or square. Just go with it. It doesn't matter. So now the next thing I'm going to do is take my automatic eraser. I believe this brand is sold out, so I will put a link in my description to another one of these that's just as good. They're like $7 or $8, I think. So you can use any kind of eraser. So what I'm going to do now is erase this the background color, that gray, and I'm going to do it kind of along the curve of the bottom of this circle. Then we'll do, I'm doing about probably 35 to 40%. 35% is awfully specific, isn't it? So we'll do that. And see, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get as much as you can. And let's see, I say that and yet I'm trying to be perfect with it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take a white pencil, because now we've got this line. So with my white pencil, oops, hang on. I just used that on a different colored page. So now I'm just blurring this out with the white pencil. Okay. Now the next thing that I want to do is come in, and if you remember, I don't know if y'all watched my video on the color bubble or the bubble effect, on how to color, or even gemstones. So the concept is the same. You're going to have a darker ring around the outside, a darker shadow, and that's where the light, so I'm going to draw, you know, the sun right here. The light is coming through this way, which means the light is going to pass through coming out that way. So for some reason, the shadow is always darkest on the side the light's coming through, and it's lightest on the side the light is coming out of. So what we'll do, and this is 90% cool gray, I'm just going to start blocking in a little shadow here. And in that bubble effect video, if y'all actually watch that, I have to apologize to you because that's one of the first videos I ever did. And I didn't know yet how to edit and speed up coloring and things like that. So the video is a lot of watching me color the inside of the bubble and then just a couple minutes at the end of me actually doing the effects. So I might have to redo that video for y'all. So if you've hung out with me that long, gosh, thank you very much. So this almost looks like hair. If I look at I don't know why, I just thought of that. Anyway, so I'm making this darker shadow along the outside. So that's 90%. So you want to work in gradients. So you want to, now we'll grab that 70% cool gray, and don't worry about writing these colors down. I'll put them in the description, but you're going to just gradually move that color from darker to lighter. And then I'll get 50% here. And what I'll probably do, so 50% is what's on the background. So this is the one I'm going to use to start blending the rest of this. Now this is taking longer because this is like a giant raindrop. If you've got raindrops this big where you live, wow, watch out. No one wants to dance in the rain when the raindrops are that big. Okay. Here we just get tornadoes, and that's super not fun. Okay, so you see how it's starting to blend out, blend those colors together. So now I'm going to bring the white back in and let the white try to smooth out a little bit of that. And don't be afraid to take your white over into this bigger area here. So now you can see I'm doing this super fast. So that kind of gives us, you know, your bubble, the outside. So one thing I want you to know, this is not going to look like a bubble until the very last step. So it's going to, you're probably going to think the whole time you're working on your bubble, this looks like crap. This is not working. But go with it. Keep going. Keep doing all the steps. And then when you get done, I want you to step back, hold your paper back, and look at it. And you'll see, oh my gosh, it's a bubble. So now what we're going to do is we're going to draw the shadow. So there's a shadow that sits right along here underneath that water drop. And I'm leaving a little space because if you wanted to be, you don't have to do this. This is for extra credit. How about that? If you wanted to be super realistic, there's usually light coming out of your bubble right there, hitting the surface in front of it. So I'm going to take another gray and just kind of blend this a little bit, be real blenderly with it. And the other thing that I like to do is really, that line should be very faint, but I like to have a more distinct line if I can. Just to, I don't know, that's just me. I feel like it gives its shape a little bit better. So there's your shadow. Okay, so now what have we done? We've drawn the circle, we erased with white, we blended with white, then we added some darker to lighter colors. Then we took the background color, blended that in the middle, went back and blended with the white. Then we added our shadow at the bottom. Now the last part we're going to do is take our gel pen. Make sure my gel pen's going to work today. Okay. And you can do this with a Posca pen. But adding the highlights with the gel pen is what's going to make it look like, oh, that's a fail. Let me find my Posca pen real quick, since this is bigger. There we go. That's what's going to make it look like a bubble. Now, what do you think? So that, to me, that little very last part is where the magic happens. You can always add a little bit down here, like if you really wanted to. Again, that would be extra credit, but there's your bubble. See how easy that was? So we're going to do one more here, and I'm going to do a drippy one. So again, I'm going to get I'm going to call this like a medium dark pencil. And I'm just going to draw a drip, right? That's pretty easy. And so what was our next step? Our eraser. And what we're going to do, again, the sunlight is coming through this way. Don't you love my son? So we're going to erase in this lower right-hand corner down here. And then maybe along the line here. Okay, but what I want you to do is think of this as, you could think of this as its own little circle like we did up here. So we'll get the darker pencil. Sorry, I went out of order. Our next step was the white pencil. Whoopsie. Okay, so I'm just blending that a little bit. Now we're going to take, this is the 90% gray, and we're going to come in here, and I'm going to make it almost like a V. So we're going to have the same kind of shadow here that we had above, right? And then I'll get the, I think I did 70% next. We'll use the 70% in here, maybe right along there. I probably didn't do the shape of that drip very well. Okay, now I'm going to take 50%, which is the medium, the background color, and really start to blend all of that out. And again, I'm being really sloppy. You've heard of sloppy joes? This is a sloppy Kim. Okay. So now, again, I'm going to try to bring my line in here just to sort of preserve it a little bit. So the next part I will do is add the shadow. I'm also going to add shadow up here along this side of where the drop is dripping. But most of the shadow is coming through this way. Try to blend that out a little bit. And again, we could put the white here for the light coming through. I'll come through and just clean up that line a little bit. That almost looks more like a horse hoof than a raindrop, so I'm very sorry, y'all. But you get the idea of what we're doing. So it just kind of, I'll show you better on the page that we do in just a second. But you get the idea. It just kind of really would look more like this, probably, as your raindrop is probably dripping down. So, okay. So that said, let me get my supplies, and we will color some colorful raindrops. So I will be right back. Okay, this is the page opposite of the pink flower page that I showed you. So I will leave you, and there's a color combo up here you can't see yet. We're going to do this with green, purple, yellow, and pink. So I will leave you all of these Prismacolor combos. I don't know if I'll have time to do the conversions, but please reach out to me if there's a pencil brand you want the conversions for, and I'll get them for you. I don't know that this other page will be a reverse color along, but let me see what I can do. That will be a little more time intensive. So let's get started. So on this, I've actually got Peacock green, Parrot green, True green, and Spring green. So I'm going to take dark green, and I'm just going to draw my circle right there on the leaf. And now remember, the next thing that I'm going to do is erase away some of that green in that circular shape, right? Easy peasy. Take my white pencil. Oops, that white had, I guess it still had some gray on it. That's okay. Blend that in. Now, for this, let's see. For this particular one, for the green, I grabbed indigo blue. because this has kind of, this right here is the peacock green, and it's got sort of a bluish hue to it. So I was using the indigo blue. It's also what I like to do when I color emerald gemstones. I like to do the darkest in blue. The next thing I'm going to do is take my spring green, which is this background here. So I'm just doing this in a couple of steps because this is a much smaller bubble and area to work with. And you can see I've lost a lot of my white shading there. So when you make the white, so you can see how the green, I came down in a circle like this, right? When you go back with the white, I want you to take the circle in the opposite direction, almost thinking of like making a football shape. American football shape, not British football shape, sorry. Pigskin. So there you go. So there's that part, right? So now we've got, because this part here, this white part is what gives the illumination, the 3D effect. That's what's really going to give it that special 3D effect. So I'm going to add a little bit darker shading up here and add a little bit more of the spring green to blend that. And again, I'm preserving that white. Okay, so next I will create my shadow. And I'll leave a little bit of space for that white. And again, you really don't have to do that. You can bring your shadow all the way underneath the bottom of this bubble if you'd like. So now, what I did on these other pages was I actually took a little black and very gently, you really don't want this to be a super dark, aggressive outline, very gently outlined that drop. And then lastly, with my trusty white gel pen, please work this time. Yep, seems to be working better this time. Kind of went in that way. And there you go. So there's a bubble. And if you feel like it's still kind of lacking on the outline, you can bring a little bit more in. Oh, can y'all hear the construction truck? That's so awesome. I love having that on my video. Okay, so there's a green one. Easy peasy. I believe in you guys. You can do this. It is so easy. So let me get my pencils and I'll be right back and we'll do the lavender. Okay, let's do a bubble on the lavender side. So this is grade lavender, lilac, Parma violet, violet, and I think that's the 4 colors there. So I'm going to start out with, again, I'm pulling a blue, and this is Indian Throne blue. Actually, you know what? Sorry, Parma violet. I'm going to draw my raindrop with Parma violet. So you can see it's just kind of a very, very faint circle there. So now what I'm going to do, and be sure to make sure your eraser is clean from the green. Otherwise, you might transfer some of that green over here, which is not fun. Get a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So now I'll take my white. Now I've got Indian Throne blue for my shadow, and I hate that. Okay, so let me go to violet. We'll just use violet for our shadow. And maybe that'll cover that up a little bit. All right, watch this. That gets most of it. Okay. You know, when I do my gemstones, that blue looks really pretty, but for some reason that just doesn't sit well with me on this right here. So this is a darker, this is just violet. And, you know, like I said, y'all always just kind of roll with it with me. Lilac to fill that middle part back in, since that's a lot of what this background is lilac and grade lavender. And then we'll blend out the white. Bring down some more of this violet. And then some more lilac. Lilac, lilac. Which do you prefer? Okay, so now I'm going to create my shadow. And on this one, I'm not going to do the little white thingy under there. So you can just see the difference and what that cast shadow might look like. So once again, I will grab black. I've got a pencil mess over here to the right off camera that y'all can't see. And I think I'm okay with that. So I'm just going to draw that in a little bit. And then maybe get a little bit more lavender over there. Okay, so now once again, we will go for the gel pen. Okay, come on, buddy. There we go. Sometimes these gel pens don't like to work over the wax from the Prismacolors. There you go. So now you've got another purple bubble, right? So again, it might look like crap, and that's a highly technical term, crap. But it might look like crap until you step back and add the very final highlights. And that's really what's going to give it that nice finished effect. All right, let me grab my yellow pencils and I'll be right back. So for this, I've got, I believe it's canary yellow, Spanish orange and yellowed orange, orange and poppy red. So there's 5 colors here, but I always love anchoring these yellowish orangey color combos with a little bit of an orangey red at the bottom. So what I did was I grabbed poppy red and orange and then Spanish orange and white. So we're going to use those 4. And on this one, I will try to do a drip and do it better this time. So for the drip on this one, I will do like a skinnier neck. Maybe more like that. Okay. And now let's take out some of the white, or let's create white by taking out some of that color right along the edges there. Wow, that is a very malformed water drop. Okay, so now we'll take our white pencil. Okay, and now I'm going to start out with the poppy red. I'm going to kind of give it more of a definition there. And add a little orange, actually add the yellowed orange back in. And then we'll come back with our white. And then up here, we'll add, oops, I think I've got the color on that pencil. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is remove, actually remove the actual background there. So we're gonna have like a continuous line of white instead of bringing the V all the way in. Okay, and then the poppy red will go that way. And then again, we'll have this Spanish orange. I had to look to see which one. Yellowed orange, Spanish orange. I'm not sure which. It's one of the two here. Okay, we'll have the white there. And then also, okay. So now what I'll do for the shadow, so I'll really try to darken it like right along there. And then again, I won't do the little white part of the shadow there. And I'll try to blend it with the orange. Okay. Very gently with the black over this yellow. That's probably too dark. Okay. You could even go a little darker if you wanted to, with like a more like a deeper red. Okay, so now we'll add the gel pen. Don't you love watching me try to get my gel pen to work? Okay, here we go. And I might even do some white highlights up here and maybe along here. And so there's the drip. But again, it's a little, clearly I need to practice this one. I have it down a lot better on the other facing page, but I think what I need, actually, let me try this. I've got processed red right here. That might be a better color to try to outline. There we go. So do as I say, not as I do. So maybe the processed red would have been better for this guy. Okay, so there's a drip. Meh. Just practice. I will continue practicing on my side, clearly. All right, last color we're going to do is pink. I will be right back. Okay, so for pink, I've got Deco Pink, Blush Pink, Pink, and Processed Red here on the page. So I'm grabbing white, processed red, black cherry, and I think blush pink. And that should give us what we need. So I'm going to use processed red for the outline of our bubble here. Okay. So let me get my eraser. Okay, now I'm going to take the white pencil and try to create that white light coming through. Now I'm going to take the black cherry, just a little bit on the outside. Very gently. And then mostly use the processed red. Okay. And the black cherry is what we'll use for to preserve the outline of the water drop. So this is the blush pink. Okay. So again, remember I'm bringing that down in a circle down this way, and then I will take the white and make my little football shape back up the other way. So here's the black cherry again. Come down. Oh, interesting. I just go right over that line. Okay, that works too. The illustration line, that is. I hope I haven't spent this whole video covering this with my hand. If I have, wow, I'm truly sorry. So now, add more processed red to that. So you can see it's just a lot of trial and error. You want to make sure you have a nice, thicker, shadowed area so that when you set down your white highlights, whether you use a crappy gel pen or a Posca pen, whatever your highlight pen of choice is, it has a large area to sit on. Whoop. Okay, hang on. Just drop that pencil. Okay. So now we'll add the shadow, and for the shadow, because this is going into the darker pink, I'm definitely going to use the black cherry. And here I am going to try to preserve a little light coming through from that bubble. So we'll add a little bit of white here. And I want to just very gently bring that line there. So you just get kind of sketchy with it a little bit. Okay, and then I might blend the shadow on the outside a little bit with the pink. I'm sorry, the blush pink. Whatever pink I have in my hand. It's blush pink. There we go. All right. Gel pen time. And there we go. And, you know, and remember, at least for me, when I use white highlights over pink, they will turn pink eventually as this dries, but don't worry about that. But there you go. So now you've got, let's see if I can zoom out here. Oops, pardon me. Okay. So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bubbles that we've practiced with in all different colors. So you can see the main technique is grabbing colors that match your background. So using like the bluish green, the darker purple. Here, pulling it from the reddish side of the family, the purpley red side of the family. And it's the same over here and how I did this page. And just using the darker green. See, here my drip looks good. Here my drip looks good. Do a skinny neck, y'all. Skinny neck on the drip. That's going to make it look better. And here, see how I made it look more like a jelly bean, like it's dripping down the leaf this way. But you can play with all different kinds of shapes. And up here, hopefully that's in camera. I can't tell. Okay, so I think that's it for today. I hope this has been super helpful. I apologize for the coloring supply malfunctions and the artist malfunctions. So, you know, but I'm not perfect. So there you go. That's how I roll. Let me know if you thought this was helpful. If there's anything more you want to see with how to do this technique, I'd love to hear how it goes for you if you try it. So just drop me a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for being excited about this technique, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.